Hello, welcome to the Cock Dice. I'm Charlie, and this week Ian has taken his finger off the remote, so I've changed the channel. We're playing Perilous Tales in the 90s. So we're playing an early 90s sort of high school horror style scenario. We've got Jennifer, her little sister Alice, the suspicious cop Ray Tanaka, and Jack, the surly but obviously armed with a whole shed load of magical goodies mentor. And the guest star for this week is the suspicious and not especially talkative transfer student who's popped up just in time for the werewolves to show. She probably won't see it through to the next episode. So our heroes have done the usual school dance. Sultry, grumpy new kid on the block with his leather jacket sulks away. They think, maybe something's up here, and it's time to follow him into the woods to the shack where he's been staying with his estranged father. And lo and behold, you'll never guess what they were really. They were werewolves all along. To make matters worse, they've got somebody held captive in the woods, probably someone they're going to chow down on later when the moon turns full. The question is, can our heroes get in there, kick their teeth in with no real justification for a little bit of trespass, and make it out the other side alive? We are playing the most recent third release of the rules, and this week our objectives are: hunt the fiends. At the end of the game, if your party killed 3 minions during the game, score 1 point, 4 minions 2 points, 5 or more minions 3 points. Kill the villain, the target being the Wolfman, and rescue the prisoner, where our heroes have to get over to that far woods and interact with the prisoner twice, set him free and get him off the side of the board. Our heroes for this week are your pretty standard 90s TV trope. We've got the brute and relentless Jen, the discretionary Alice, who comes armed with a baseball bat and a handgun. Ray, the suspicious cop, comes with a full complement of marksman skills, and then Jack is tough because he's 9 foot tall and has a rock hand. The transfer student is crazed, making her immune to horror penalty checks, because I think you'd have to be to make hunting werewolves a career choice. So let's get started. We're going to start with Jack. We can move him forward probably 3 inches and just get him ready for anything with an eyes peeled. Same goes for Alice. I think she's just going to shuffle forward ever so slightly. I think we'll put her out to 4 and eyes peeled for her again. Jen, I think, is next. She's going to move forward 4 inches and just kind of hang around there. Ray's going to stay where he is with his eyes peeled because he's just that kind of guy. Stood at the back looking all wary and moody, and our glorious and inevitably short-lived werewolf hunter is going to make a double move, so a 4 and a 4 straight into the middle here, and see if we can't kick off a little bit of trouble. So that puts her in range of 2 threat markers, which is a nice way just to kick things off with, hopefully, an ambush. We're using the standard terrain rules, so we will find out what happens when we flip these 2 over. 7, terrain. And 8, terrain. Well, there we go. She has been affected by terrain straight off the bat. So number 7 is unsteady underfoot. When revealed, the revealer must pass a skill check or immediately be knocked down. Peril remains in play. When a hero ends a move within 6 inches, they must pass a skill check or be knocked down. And then number 8 is disaster strikes. When revealed, the revealer suffers a skill 7 attack. If this attack does 1 or more wounds, the model is knocked down. Discard this peril after revealing. So let's start with number 8, I suppose, because that does some damage while it's at it. So that is a skill 7 attack. I'm gonna roll this out, see if any of them hit our nutter. It does. There's a 10 in there, which is the nifty little symbol. So she takes 1 damage and gets knocked down. And I guess whether or not she gets knocked down underfoot is irrelevant, but we'll take the 8 off there. So thank you for clearing that out of the way. It was very kind of you. Good work, transfer student. And then let's move on to the villain's turn. So first up, we will take our threat check. A little bit disappointed there was nobody to shoot there. I was kind of hoping for some wolves to jump out and everything to be very exciting. But we're at threat level 1 as opposed to threat level midnight. Let's roll our 1 skill check, see how we do. 8 and 7, nothing. So we just advance the threat counter up to 2, and it's the hero's turn again. All right, with the transfer student laid on her back, let's hop her up, and she can move 4 inches this way on her ongoing relentless quest. She's still just outside of 6 inches of that. Alice is going to move up 4, I think. Well, she's going to move up to there. Eyes peeled because she's a bit on the squishy side. We have to try and avoid that. Did she end up within 6 inches or is she just out? Oh, she's just out. Ray's going to stay put and carry on looking across the board, surveying his options and looking out for threats and generally being a bit of a keen-eyed man with a tiny pistol and a giant coat. Giles is going to do the sensible thing and move around away from the marker over there, and he's going to start investigating in this direction. I think he's going to get that far and then eyes peeled, and Jen this time is going to plow on forward and do an 8-inch move. So 6 to there, another 2 to there. Are we within 6 of that? So we trigger that one on 6. That gives us number 2. Number 2 is the juvenile werewolf. It is the smouldering, sulky student from the dance that probably happened earlier in the episode with some progress. Maybe the Cure. I think the Cure was probably playing. It's the kind of thing that you'd always, get at a school dance for this sort of thing. He's going to appear within an inch of her there. Ice Peel Jack is going to take a shot at him. Good work, Jack. So he is a skill of 2. +1 because it's a shooting attack, but it's got a disadvantage to it. So I'm going to roll 2 difficulty dice and discard the easier of the 2. So we've got to get a 10. He misses. Excellent work, Jack. Whiffing past like a pro there. All right, villain's turn. So we are going to do our 2 skill check against the threat level. This time it does not happen again. It just advances to number 3 because I was 0 successes. Then the young werewolf is aggressive, so checks, non-action, villainous attack. So he's going to make a minimum difficulty equal to the target's skill attack. He has got a skill of 4. He's got 6 wounds, so I think we could probably strip those off him pretty quickly. Okay, time for the juvenile wolf's attack. So he has got a skill of 4. He's got to hit a minimum of 7 because Jen has got the brute upgrade, meaning that she's got 4 skill +3 in hand-to-hand combat. So let's see whether he can score any 7s. So he's got to hit the 7. He makes 1. But he's wounded her, which means that because he's a werewolf, she is marked. If she suffers a misfortune during any one of her actions, she will die and be replaced by another juvenile werewolf, which is a bit of a nuisance because I only have the one of them. He's not going to move anywhere because he's already in contact with her, and he's not going to do anything else. And it makes it the hero turn. So we're going to start with Jen. She is going to kick off with a melee on 7 skill with a target of 4 or the difficulty dice. Got no advantages, no disadvantages, but let's see if she can clock him with a famous roundhouse kick and make him regret his choice in leather jackets. She's got to beat an 8. She gets 2. It's a little bit sad, could probably have done better, but 2 wounds on the werewolf. It's not a bad place to be. Give him a wounds dice so we can remember how much of a kicking he's taken. The next thing she is going to attempt to do is dive to the side and allow Jack to take a couple of shots with that enormous hand cannon. So we take a skill check on escape from combat. Target the model with the highest skill value engaging. Minimum difficulty equal to their skill. Success is equal to or greater than the number of models that we're currently engaged with. We can take a walk action away. We've got to beat a skill of 4 on a 4 skill roll. Or the difficulty dice. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Shiny dice. Do we make it? Yes, she does. She absolutely nails that cocky walk off to the side. So she's just going to back up here. And the wolf's going to do nothing about it. And Jack is going to take a couple of shots now. He's got a skill of 3, 2 + 1 for his shooting. And let's see what happens. So 1, 2, 3. Minimum of 4. Difficulty dice says 9. Ooh, we've got a 9. There we go. Hits him for 1. That's 3 wounds on the juvenile wolf. The next thing he's going to do is a particularly heroic taunt. He's going to shout something along the lines of, "I never liked placebo anyway." And hopefully that's going to catch the attention of that young wolf and bring him over towards Jack instead of our heroine. So we've got to make a 2 skill check. Got a range of 6. I'm pretty sure we're in range, otherwise shout's going to fall on deaf ears. Oh, that's lucky. Let's give it a go. We've got to beat whatever the difficulty dice is, and that's it. Beat a 9, get a 9. Lovely jubbly. So he is now the target when the young wolf is talking about targets. Ray rather gloriously is 14 inches away, which is 10 for your average ranged attack plus 4 because he's a marksman. That means he gets 3 shooting dice as a regular, and he gains an advantage because he has not taken a walk or escape from combat action, and he can shoot clean through the middle of them like an absolute pro. So let's take that 3 skill check with an advantage and see how he does on his first shot. So, pair of 4s. He's got to beat 2 4s. He gets 2 5s. That's 2 damage, putting him up to 6. I think it's safe to say that Ray is going to have to take another shot, winging it down the middle of the pair of heroes up the front there, and hopefully not miss too embarrassingly. Another shot with his feet firmly planted. He's got to beat a 3. He does it with a 10/lion. 6 damage on the juvenile wolf, and that is the end of him. Down he goes, lamenting the end of Flock of Seagulls, giving us 1 minion towards our Hunt the Fiends count, which is nice. And it only costs us 1 wound and a casual curse of the werewolf. Okay, that's those 3 gone, and that was quick and brutal. I think the only thing that we could possibly do now is move the ladies over this side. So Alice is going to stay put and get ready to, in fact she's going to move a little bit because otherwise she's never going to go anywhere, is she? She's going to move just over there because she's not going to be the one to trigger that, and sit there eyes peeled waiting for our glorious little hunter to do something stupid. And of course the glorious hunter is going to plow straight up there and trigger a threat marker. So let's flip it over, see what happens. Number 5. Number 5 is a regular wolf. So the wolf's going to dive out from behind that nearby box, plonk itself just there, and we trip into the villain's turn. So first off, we've got the threat check. See what happens this time. We've got to beat a 9. It gets, 2 successes. Well played. The Noose tightens. So we're going to move each unrevealed threat marker that's 1 inch towards a hero in 10 or 1 inch towards the center. And then we're going to up our threat level to 4. Okay, everything's shuffling in towards the middle a little bit there. The noose is tightening around our heroes. There are things creeping in the hedges. There's something lurking behind the shack. But which of them is going to be Mr. Wolfson? Let's go with Wolfson. That's a good name. I'd call him Mr. Wolfson if I was writing this show. So the average wolf is a pack hunter, which means in the absence of any other villains in 3 inches, he is going to use the lurker behavior. Action number 1, raise the alarm. He is not within range of any unrevealed threat markers, so he is going to make a villainous attack for action number 2. He's got a skill level of 3. Going to take a bite out of the transfer student who never gets a name. It's pretty sad. It's almost like we're not expecting them to survive. Minimum hit of 2. Got to make a difficulty of 3. Does 3 damage. It's very possible the transfer student will not make it out alive. That puts them on 4 wounds. Oh, it gains +1 skill because she's already got 1 wound from falling on her ass earlier. It was a 2, wouldn't have made any difference. So once it's done its villainous attack, the next thing it's going to do is skulk away. So it's going to move 6 inches towards the next nearest threat marker, which is all the way over here. That's a really long way to travel. Into the woods, which are going to be a little bit of tricky terrain for shooting into. It occurs to me that I forgot to shoot over here. Drat. Oh well, let's call it a miss. Alice was too busy admiring those boxes and thinking, why am I carrying a baseball bat? That does make it very difficult to aim accurately. If only I'd had an empty hand like Ray, I could have been a master marksman. Anyway, moving on to the next hero turn. We are going to have to start making some progress towards that prisoner over there in the woods. I think we are going to start over here then and get some double moves on the go from Jen, close and distance. Same for good old Jack, close a little bit of distance. Oh, they're both just inside 6 inches, so they're going to take a skill check or get knocked down. So Jen on 4 has to beat a 9. She just does it. She pinches a 10 in there. That was lucky. Jack, on the other hand, only has a skill 2, so he is probably going to end up tripping over something unpleasant. Survey says Makes it. Dodges those roots. Drifts over on his double move, ready for anything. Next up, we're going to have to move some of these other fine folks. I think it's probably time for Ray to come out of the shadows and make a double move up to here. Ready for the next turn and a little bit of casual violence. And Alice probably needs to shuffle forward a little bit. That might put her just outside 6 inches there. Let's maybe not move so far. Let's just move the 2 and we'll shoot over towards that wolf. I think it's fair to say that wolf is probably behind or in some obscuring terrain there. He's tucked into the forest, so he gets cover. So Alex gets a disadvantage when shooting with her 3. Skill, that's probably not ideal, but let's see what happens. So 3 and pick the worst dice. Oh, double 1. She has fortunately dodged a misfortune and scored 3 hits on that wolf. They have 4 wounds though, so let's just put the 3 down there next to them and frankly regret not taking a better gun and maybe learning some marksmanship skills. Last up, we are going to keep our crazed transfer student plowing ahead with her unexplained hatred for those wolves. She's going to move into 4 inches and then trigger the next threat marker because why not? Let's reveal a threat marker and find out what's lurking in these woods. Number 6. That's a terrain attack. So she suffers a skill 3 attack from 1,000 cuts. So the wind's blowing, there are some of those nearby branches whipping away at her face. It's quite why there'd be 1,000 of them, I couldn't tell you, but it's obviously a very poor choice to charge into a wood full of wolves and just see how you do. So skill 3 attack has got to beat 4, so that's 2 more to our transfer student. She's very nearly been eaten alive by the environment rather than the wolves, and every chance that she is not going to make it to the end of this as we move into the villain's turn. So let's check that threat level. Currently at threat level 4, that's 4 dice, got to beat a 6. It gets 3 successes, so the crawling chaos, each hero makes a horror check. So the transfer student is immune to horror checks because she's crazy. Then let's start with the nearest to the event. So Alice is going to take a skill 2 horror check. She beats it. Ray's going to make a skill 2 horror check. He does not beat it, so he makes a 4-inch walk away from the nearest visible enemy. So he is going to back up in the toughest and scariest way that only he knows how. Jack stood over there. Does Jack make it? He beats it. Jack steals himself and doesn't go anywhere. He's going to hang around Jen and make sure that nothing terrible happens to her with his big red fist. And then Jen, on her skill check of 4, smashes it. So she stays put. She's used to seeing werewolves and terrible things happening, obviously, being the heroine of Unexplained Monster Magnetville. Next up, we apply the Noose Titans, so let's move everything towards the nearest hero within 10 inches, or just generally the center of the board as everything starts creeping in. Welcome back, and after a brief commercial break, everything has shuffled in 1 inch towards the heroes as the Noose Titans and terror gets ever closer. The threat level has now moved up to 5, and it is the turn of the wolf. So there are no other villains within 3 inches. It is going to use the lurker behavior. First up is going to raise the alarm, but there's nothing within range, so we'll skip that out. It's going to make a villainous attack within 1 inch. It's just outside of that, so the transfer student is probably safe for now. Instead, it is going to skulk over 6 inches towards the nearest unrevealed threat marker, which is just the other side of here. So 6 inches puts it right next to that one. I think next time around it's probably going to trigger that. It did nothing in its second action phase, so it's time for fallback action up to no good. So we're just going to up the threat level by 1, so it's going to creep up from 5 to 6 while that wolf does something suspicious in the bushes. And that brings us around to the hero's next turn, so we are moving up and closing the distance on that prisoner and those remaining threat markers. There is one just tucked down behind here that's in a rubbish place that no one can see for the scenery, but there's always one last to jump out at the end. Starting off, it makes sense for everyone to start shooting at that wolf, I think, and try and put it down before it causes any more trouble. So Alice is going to be shooting at a disadvantage. She's 10 inches away, but she is shooting through a fence and into some woods, which is pretty obscuring, I would say. So that's a skill attack of 3 against a disadvantage, so 2 difficulty dice, with a minimum of 3 to hit. What do we get? Oh, a 9 and a 10. That's a misfortune. So she automatically fails. I imagine that tiny little gun probably clicks empty and she hasn't got a free hand to reload it. Safe to say she is going to have to spend her second action taking another shot at another disadvantage and see whether or not this time, once she gets herself organised, she can manage to hit him. Let's have a look. Minimum of 6. She makes a 6. We forgot to follow him with his damage dice, but that puts it up from 3 to 4, and that takes down the wolf. So we got all the way over there, only to be peppered with bullets and put to sleep. Nicely, that is a second minion for our Hunt the Fiends objective, so we are creeping in the right direction. But we are on threat level 6, so it's not going to end particularly well from here on. Alice has done all of her moving. I think the transfer student probably needs to get away from there, otherwise she is just going to drop down dead. But she's not going to do anything super smart. She's going to move 4 inches to there. And she is going to take another skill 3 attack in an attempt to get away from any more markers and move around the other side to where all of the unrevealed threats are. That skill 3 attack is going to probably kill her. It does indeed take her down. On her way, the transfer student trips over some boxes, and that is her down and out. And that, my friends, is why we do not give names to our extras. You'd get attached, you'd be sad when you have to take them off. And that was eventful. Next up, let's move some of our other merry people. Jack is going to come forwards, and hopefully that will keep him 6 inches away, because that's where I want to be. There. Because he's going to sit and do his usual, do I fall over because I'm near the 7, and then can I do some eyes peeling and keep Jen safe as she pushes forward. So he's going to take a skill check on his 2 or face a knockdown. He makes it. He strides into that perilous terrain, sure-footed with his big clumpy boots and broody jacket, and stands there ready for anything with his eyes peeled. Ray is going to stay put, eyes peeled. Every time he goes forward, something seems to go wrong, so best that he just peels those eyes and prepares himself marksman style for the next thing to pop out. Jen is naturally going to plough forwards 4 inches, putting her within 6 inches of a threat marker and revealing what has to be an enemy, because we have exhausted all of the other ways to die horribly. She's within 6 inches of that number 7 though, so let's see whether or not on a skill test of 4, she falls over and embarrasses herself. Does she beat a 9? She doesn't beat a 9, so down she goes at the end of her 1 action there. So unfortunately, she's going to lie there on her back while we reveal this threat marker and find out what it is. Oh, it's the Wolfman. That's a tragedy. What a surprise, with an almighty howl from in the woods near to our prisoner. Out pops the Wolfman and dives over the fence. Let's say he tackled her to the ground. Maybe that's the kind of thing that happens. There's some snapping jaws, some slavering, some sort of ineffective pushing. Nobody really does all that well, and nobody's got anything to be proud of. Fortunately, Jack and Ray both get to panic and shoot their guns wildly at the prone teammate and the big angry dog monster. Let's see how that pans out. So let's start off with Ray. Ray is shooting on 3 skill with an advantage against the Wolfman. He hits 3 times. That's a good start. We like that. Good work, Ray. The Wolfman has got 12 wounds on our werewolf, so he is 25% of the way through. He's probably going to maul Jen a little bit. It's not going to be a pretty one. Jack, in the meantime, has got a skill of 3, but he doesn't have the advantage. He's going to take that shot. He makes it with 1. Let's put the Wolfman up to 4 damage. So we're a third of the way through his hit points, and he hasn't done anything yet, but it is time for the villain's go. So first up, we've got a threat check on a level 6. Anything beat the 7? Nothing beats the 7. That's unexpected. So our threat level just creeps up by 1 to level 7. Next up, it's time for the Wolfman to do something. So our werewolf is aggressive, of course. So he's got no checks to make. The first thing he does is a villainous attack. He's targeting a wounded hero, so with the scent of blood in his nostrils, he gets to make a +1 skill attack against our heroine Jen. So his base skill is a 7. He's rolling 8. Minimum difficulty is 7 because Jen is a skill 4 hero with Brute. So he's got to beat at least a 7. Got to beat a 7. He gets 2 regulars and a critical. So that is 4 hits. She's already been marked, so she's just going to have to hope for the best and try not to die on a misfortune. So he's done his villainous attack. He is going to advance. He's already stood next to her, so he can't really get any closer. He might just shuffle right the way up there. Keep her in combat and see what happens next. And that is the end of him. Moving on to the hero's turn. It's safe to say with Jen being engaged, she is going to have to go first and jump up using Relentless to do a 0 action skill. She is then going to make an attack for her first action. So 7 skill taking on the werewolf. He has got a skill of 7, so 7 with a minimum of 7. No advantages, we're just going to hit him, hope for the best. So you've got to hit a 7. We get 2 criticals and a pass. So that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 wounds. So he goes up to 9. That will teach him a valuable lesson about picking on definitely not Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Next up, she is going to attempt a skill check to escape from combat and allow people to riddle him with bullets. So we've got to beat a minimum of a skill 7 on a 4 skill roll. See if you can make that work. She gets a 9. So Jen gets to make a walk away, otherwise unharassed. Out to here, ready for the next round of the fight. Let's give Jack a chance not to miss everything, shall we? So Jack's gonna take the initiative and take a shot at the werewolf. Teach him a lesson in attacking his protege. So he has got a skill of 3. Got to beat a minimum of 7. He beats it for 3. Gets a 9 and a critical worth 2 against a difficulty of 7. So that's another 3 damage. 12 wounds on the Wolfman. Down he goes. Well played. That is what happens when you mess with the student of the dude who looks like Hellboy and the Punisher had a baby. The Wolfman has been killed, ladies and gentlemen. It is a sad day for werewolf lovers everywhere, but at least that's one family neatly wiped off the face of the planet. Of course, Jack's just ended an action X2 our perilous ground, so now has to see whether or not he falls on his head. He makes it. Bags of 4 just at the last second. There's nothing worse than landing the killing blow on the big bad and then falling on your backside. So he's going to celebrate by making a 4-inch walk, confident stride this way. He's going to have to get within 6 inches of that in order to... Oh, he's been 6 inches of both of them. Let's see if he falls over again. Let's start there. Otherwise he's not going to get anywhere. He does fall over. Good work, Jack. Does he also get sorely, sorely wounded? It's a skill 3 attack. He takes 2 wounds off a critical there. It's fine, he's tough, so he ignores the first wound. Apart from the fact he fell on his head when he fell on the particularly sharp rock, it only made a little dent. Next up, it's Alice. Alice is going to attempt a double move. So we're going to move 4 up to here, and then just a 2 over the top to there, because that's hopping over. Puts within 6 inches of our number 6, so another skill 3 attack. But someone's got to get towards that poor prisoner and hope for the best. It's got to beat a 4. It beats the 4 once. So Alice takes 1 wound. Ray should probably start shambling his way up the field. Kind of letting the side down when it comes to aggressive leading. was never his forte really. It was something he was always getting feedback on in the police academy, something he regrets to this day, which is what drove him to follow Jen around with extreme suspicion, was opportunities to dive in and get assaulted by leaves, trees and other sharp things to see whether or not he takes any damage on our threat number 6. Just the one. Back of his mind he's thinking, see Ray, this is why you just don't take the lead. Something sharp gets you. Alrighty, that's all of the heroes exhausted, or otherwise laid down making fools of themselves. That makes it the villain's turn. We are threat level 7. We killed the master for the first time, so we drop 2, putting us back down to threat level 5, which is nice because I could do without everything closing in on me in a horrible, horrible fashion. Got to beat a 6. It beats the 6 with 2 successes, so the Noose Titans, which is just what we were hoping not to get, but what are you going to do? So our 2 remaining threat markers have shuffled forwards. One of them has climbed through the window of the shack and is rattling around inside. I'm going to take an educated guess. It's probably a wolf. So nothing else happens with the villain's turn. We will move on to the hero's turn. The threat level ticks up to 6. Getting slightly more ominous as those 2 remaining minions close in, and we haven't quite made it up to our prisoner yet. Let's start with Jack. Jack can hop up for 1 point, and he can make a 2-inch move over that fence to just get away from the trip hazards. In doing so, he's going to take his I've entered the wood of mysterious sharp things roll and see what happens to him. Probably only supposed to be that was a skill 3 attack, that's fine. So he ignores the first damage for tripping over some thorny things against his tough hide, but he is also within 6 inches of that threat marker. So we flip to the villain's turn, we turn it over, it's a 3. Surprise, surprise, it is a wolf springing out of the woods to take on our hero's mentor, Jack Thickneck. Regrettably, nobody took any other actions there. Jack just blundered straight into the woods in an I'll show you kind of way, and he has lost the rest of the turn to the heroes. It is time for a threat check. So it's got to beat a 7, and it does so 3 times. So, crawling chaos. Everybody makes a horror check. Well, let's start with Jack and see whether or not he instantly wanders away to safety. Got to beat a 9. He does. He's going to move. No, he can't because he's engaged. Actually, I'm lying. So we'll move on to Alice. She fails to make it, so she's going to move 4 inches away towards the hero end of the board. And just hop over the other side of there. Ray's going to fail his horror check because it's kind of his thing. Oh, Ray stands firm. Well played, Ray. And finally, Jen's going to take her roll. We've lost a dice. We'll never know the result. She beats it well and truly, so Jen gets to stay put 2. And then there was some chaos. All of the dice from all of the games are all over the floor in all of the places. All right, horror check sorted. The noose is going to tighten next up. Duly tightened, there's only 1 remaining threat marker. It's still creeping and shuffling its way through the inside of that shack. There's something in there, but what could it be? What could it be? Next up, our pack hunter wolf then. So no other villains in 3 inches. He behaves like a lurker. The threat level is 7. So he uses the aggressive behavior. He's feeling brave, getting a little bit too close to that prisoner, to his dinner for his liking. So he is going to start with a villainous attack. Targeting Jack on a skill of 3. He's got to beat a minimum of 2. He does so 4 times. Oof. Brutal. Jack ignores the first because he's tough, but he's taken a 3 wound mauling from that wolf there. Next thing he's going to do is make an advance move, so just shuffle it and close that gap a little bit. He's probably going to get punched in the head, to be fair, but he's made an admirable start. And that is the end of the villains round. Alright, it's time for the dramatic near finale close-up. Our core cast members are all still standing, and it's time for Jack to hit back. With his grand total of 2 melee skill for that great big Hellboy fist he's got going on there. He's got to beat a minimum of 3. Got to beat a 7. He makes it with 1 7, so the wolf takes 1 damage. Now no one else is going to be able to get within range here, so Jack is going to attempt to escape from combat and dive back over that fence to give everybody else a clear shot-ish at the wolf. He fails. He is stuck in combat with the wolf. And nobody can get really close enough to help him, which is going to be interesting. So I think it's time to start moving some other people around. Maybe they can close the distance a little bit. Ray's going to move 4 up to the edge of here for next time around. Meanwhile, I think Alice is going to do the heroic thing and work her way towards that prisoner. So she's going to take another 1,000 cuts, attack 3, which hits her 3 times on a difficulty of 2. So she's on to 4 wounds remaining. Taking quite the clobbering little sister there, but she's going to have to move again. Otherwise, it's all going to be for naught. We'll spin those woods around while we're at it. Hey. So she's going to move into there and take another skill 3 attack. Got to beat 2s. Beats the 5 twice, so she's got 2 wounds remaining. It's getting pretty risky there. She's got to get outside of 6 inches of that before she makes to relative safety. Maybe she can rescue the prisoner. Who knows? Maybe the woods will swallow her up. Next up, our heroine is going to make a double move in the same direction. She's going to go around the outside of that. She's going to take a skill 3 with a target of minimum 4. 1 wound. And then she's going to move again and do the same again and try and get in there and assist when Alice invariably drops. She's going to be there to carry her prone and unconscious sister home to safety. Skill 3 attack. Makes it 1. That's not too bad. She's got plenty of health left, our Gen. And that is the end of the round. Villains go. So it's a threat level 7. It's getting a bit nasty here. Time to do that level 7 threat check. See what happens. We haven't killed anybody to make it go down. So, got to be to 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Ouch. There are no masters to remove 3 wounds. So the hero with the fewest friendly models within 3 inches spawns a minion within 1 inch and as close to the heroic board edge as possible. Who's got the fewest around them? Nobody. The one closest to the hero's board edge. Good old Ray. So he's going to take that wolf, popping up behind him to say hello. Everybody's turned their backs on the rest of the homestead, and as a result, those wolves have got the jump on them, leaping out of the shadows to surprise Ray. Creeping Chaos, let's make some horror checks. Ray and Jack are both engaged, so they've got nowhere to go. So let's move up to Jen, see if she can pass a skill check. She does pass a skill check, she's staying put. What about younger sister Alice? Passes a skill check, staying put. Very brave, gotta give her that. And then we increase the threat counter up to 8. And we move the threat tokens remaining 1 inch further forward. All right, the first villain to activate is the wolf closest to Ray with his surprise attack. So we have exceeded the threat level of 7, meaning he is onto aggressive behavior, starting with a villainous attack at skill 3. He's got a minimum of 2 to hit to beat Ray. He gets no 7s. Ray lucky to survive that unpleasant surprise there, but he's going to close the gap and cause Ray some new trouble because there's nobody with any guns nearby that's any good with them. And then the wolf that's already got Jack engaged, same again, a villainous attack. Got to beat a 2. He beats a 2 3 times. Jack ignores the first wound but takes 2 more damage. In fact, he gets an extra one because he's already wounded Jack. Takes another wound. 3. Jack is very nearly down. It's not looking good for him. They're both already as close as they're going to get, so I think it is time for the hero's turn to see what on earth we are going to do about this. Probably best off to start with Jack and see if he can... Best to start off with Jack, see if he can drag himself to safety before he's mauled by a wolf or the mysterious whippy trees. So he's got to make a skill check. He's only got to get the 1 success. She's lucky because he's only rolling on 2. Oh, he beats it well and truly, so he gets to make a 4-inch move away. What's going to get him out of the way of that so we can do something useful? So he's got to get to here. Can he get to there? Not quite. What can he do instead? He's got to move away, so he's going to hop over here, end up there. Still in 6 inches in his bloody and broken state. Is he going to survive a skill 3 attack? Oh, he's not. He takes 2 and down Jack goes, tripping over the fence. I'm going to say he's probably lost consciousness. We do a little bit of a Long and lingering worry stare with the camera as things fade out, and then we zip back to the action. Every heroic model within 8 inches has to take a horror check because they've just seen Jack go down, and see whether or not anybody panics though. Ray's still engaged. Where's he going to go? But let's see what happens to dear Alice. She beats her horror check, 5 versus 4. Jen, watching her mentor hit the floor. Oh, she beats it, but only on the 1 die, so she gets to stay where she is. Next move, I think it's safe to say that Ray probably needs to do something productive. So Ray is going to spin around and he's going to fight off this wolf that's picked a scrap with him. So first attack, melee of 2. Target is a minimum of 3. Oh, he suffers a misfortune. So he automatically fails despite having bagged a 3 wound hit there that probably would have seen it more or less off. He's going to have another try. Can he beat the minimum skill of 3? Beats it once, so he hits it for 1 wound. Nowhere near as good. Uh-oh, Ray. Uh-oh, Ray. Question is, what do we do with dear Alice and Jen? I think it's a safe bet to say that Jen is going to have to politely go around Alice and try and make it to that, within 1 inch of that prisoner, which she can just squeeze around to there. And make 1 interaction with the prisoner. We've got to make 2 interactions to rescue them. So for the first of 2, the prisoner is moving slowly towards being rescued, but Jen is out of actions and she has to take... Is she still within 6 of that now? She is. That's a terrible place for that, so she's got to take 2 of those. I probably should have thought of it earlier. 2 strength, 3 attacks. 2 damage and another... Nothing, just 2 damage. She's got 4 hit points remaining. I think she can probably get that prisoner out on her next turn and off the board. Alice is gonna have to bail because she's gonna have to get away from that 6 marker. Otherwise, we are gonna be in serious trouble when it comes to running out of family members. Can she get right to the board edge? Yes, she can. So she's gonna move right up there and hopefully survive this. So it's a skill 3 attack. If she makes it, she is gone. Got to beat a 7. It doesn't beat any 7s. I think it's safe to say that Alice is going to have to bail. It's nothing to be proud of, but then again, she is the younger sister of the heroine. She's got to make it to at least season 6 or 7 before she gets any powers of her own. So she's going to leave the board and take Alice out to relative safety. So at least 1 person has not died and therefore cannot contribute to everything going wrong. That makes it the villain's turn. We're on threat level 8. So we're rolling 8 dice, see how we do. We get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 successes because there's a critical in there. So 6 successes is from the shadows. The hero with the fewest, otherwise close to table edge. Oh dear, Ray. Ray might be in trouble here as these wolves keep on slinking out. We've seen their master and his son die. They are not happy about it. Next up, crawling chaos. So we apply a horror check. Ray is engaged, so he can't go anywhere. Jen's all the way over there. She is not engaged. Let's see whether or not she ends up passing. That's lucky, so she doesn't start walking away from our prisoner before he's freed and have to go back there and start all over again. It is the enemy's turn, so the one nearest to the hero's board edge is right here, the wolf with 1 wound. He's definitely aggressive now. He is going to start with his attack. So 3 skill, got to beat a 9. He fails, that's lucky. Ray dodges a bite, maybe he blocks it with his gun. That's always a good one, getting to bite onto the Desert Eagle and slow them down just a little bit. Got nothing else to do this time, he had to go at Ray. He's already in base contact. Next one, same again, having a crack at Ray. Oh, he's got to beat a 9. He does it with 3, a critical and a 9. Ray takes 3 wounds. Inches into base contact. And then finally, there is nobody for our last aggressive wolf to make an attack on, but he can jump the fence with his 3-inch half move. Oops, daisy. And he can also engage Ray. I think it's safe to say that Ray is going to go down in a blaze of glory. Fallback action, villainous attack. Oh, gets a 10, suffers misfortune. Phew. So that's the end of the villain's turn unless Ray moves out the way on his next turn, he's probably going to trigger that last threat token just in the doorway there, and it's a safe bet that that's going to be yet another wolf. All right, hero's turn. Let's see what we can do now. I think it is a safe bet to see if Ray can take down this wolf here. That's obviously the honourable thing to do. So he is rolling on a skill 2 with a minimum difficulty of 3. He's trying to do 3 damage to that wolf. He does 2 damage. It's pretty respectable. So that puts that wolf up to 3. I think Ray's feeling pretty generous. He's going to play the martyr here, and he's going to attempt to kill that wolf on a second melee attack without trying to run away. Give Jen time to free the prisoner and make it off to safety. Let's see if we can get it. Got to beat a 7. He does it. He hits the 7. That's another wolf down. Good job, Ray. He's bagged as a victory point for taking down that wolf. Probably going to be turned into dog food. Nonetheless, Jen, our heroine over in these woods, is now going to take 1 action to free the prisoner. And then the question is, does she? Oh, she takes a skill 3 attack. Let's see whether or not she gets tragically wounded in the process. 1 wound there from the incredibly sharp trees. She's only got 3 wounds left. I think it might be time for her to make an unceremonious departure. So she's going to move to the board edge and disappear. And then our prisoner, who is now alive and stuck over here, is also going to make a move to the board edge and leave the board. Because you would. There's a guy with 1 pistol and a sheepskin jacket about to be felled horribly by 2 wolves. Which makes it the villain's turn. And we add 1 to the current threat level, and that brings us to a threat level of 10 and calls an end to the game. Safe to say, as our heroes push through the brush of the ridiculously sharp woods and finally come out on the other side with a sister and a prisoner in tow, we maybe hear some gunshots, fade to black, a lot of people with a bit of blood streaming down their face. What's happened to Ray? Nobody sees Ray. Ray's probably okay. It's a safe bet that the next day, maybe a couple of hours later, we'll see some ambulances pan out. There's Jack on a stretcher, happily recovering. The student from the transfer student has mysteriously disappeared altogether, probably to come back in a couple of seasons' time with a big about a werewolf or hunting something else. Prisoner gets handed over to the police. He's been missing for weeks, maybe months, maybe even years. Who's to say? We'll never see him again. He won't even make a bit part dawdling around the town in a future episode. Big question is, how did we do for victory points? Did we make a successful episode? Did we make a good episode? Or did we just scrape through by the skin of our teeth? So the leader was alive. That gives us +1 point. We definitely lost some teammates, so we don't get a point for that. So we start on 1. We killed 3 minions because they all turned up at the last second, which gives us 1 point. That puts us on 2. We killed the Wolfman, which gives us another 3, putting us on to 5 victory points. And the thankful prisoner was alive at the end, having run away. Put us onto a grand total of 8 victory points. That's a tale fit for the telling. Rank B. For the first subtle 90s horror takeover, I will take that. I think it's safe to say next time Ian's going to get his hands on the remote and the return of Butch Sullivan is almost certain, but you never know. Maybe the stage will get a little bit fuzzy. Maybe the channel will get flicked over. Maybe he'll record the wrong thing by mistake and we will see a little bit more 90s horror here on Perilous Tales and the Cocked Dice. In the meantime, tune in next week for some more exciting adventures of Butch Sullivan. Thanks for watching this Perilous Tales hijack. Ta-ta!